Welcome back, everyone, to Aeos Clubhouse, the Pokemon Unite podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Ferguson. I am joined, as I always am, by two fabulous individuals. The first of which I will choose is Mochrie this week.
He's tipping right now. He's busy.
What's going on, y'all? It's good to see you back again, as always. It blows my mind just what Kyle was saying to me, saying to us right before we started the episode, which was that this is episode 16.
Yeah.
I want to say already about a third of a year in, which is just crazy to me because I feel like we just started and I am still just an unexperienced lad in comparison to my co-hosts here that somehow let me on the show. But either way, that's crazy. How you doing,
But you
Kai?
can't be an inexperienced lad. You're like the expert we turn to. Like, what the heck? Oh, no.
You let me in here for some reason, and if that's the justification, I'll go along with it. But how are you doing? Kai?
Oh, God, I thought you said Kyle. Our names are too similar.
Kyle?
I thought you said Kyle. Listen, okay? Listen, all right. I'm working all day. I got no brain left. How am I? I'm okay. I am Blastoise, actually.
Oh.
I've actually
What does that
evolved
mean?
past the point of being a Blastoise main where I am literally a turtle with cannons on my back all the time. That's how much Blastoise I've been playing. I have transcended and I am a Blastoise.
How did this
I think
happen?
it was...
You know in the anime, the Pokemon fanatics where they would just dress up and head to toe, like the little kid just is Pikachu. Like
Yeah.
that's me. How did this happen? Nobody tanks. So it's it is what it is.
I believe
I'm
it
just-
was Aristotle who said we are what we repeatedly do.
There
And
well,
yeah, you're living it out right here, evidently so. I eagerly await becoming a pirate fireball bunny any day now.
I would
Let's
love
go.
to have more of those in my games, actually, because of the squirrel situation.
the ongoing squirrel situation.
The squirrel situation is pretty dire, actually.
Yeah, Greedent seems a little ridiculous to me. He just pulls up, just casually runs through your team and just belches on everybody for huge damage while he's unstoppable the whole time because that's interactive.
Yeah, I don't have a single character I play that plays well into him. So I'm just hoping somebody else on my team handles the situation because I'm certainly not going to.
I respect it.
Huh. I'm curious about multiple things. So there were no tanks. So of all of them you picked...
There's never tanks. If I leave my teammates to their own devices, we will have 5 damage characters every game.
And still...
We'll have 4 damage characters and whatever I'm willing to play. Am I going to heal? Am I going to tank? Am I going to give in to and also play a damage character? I don't know. But that's it. That's all we get. The closest thing to a tank you get is Lucario.
I mean,
I know how that sounds. I said it on purpose.
No, I get you. I climbed playing jungle, and I feel like it's almost impossible to get a jungle game sometimes because virtually any time you load into a lobby, I feel like there's an instant Zeraora, Talonflame, or Greninja, sometimes all 3 locked in on the team at the same time, and everybody's sitting there playing a game of chicken about, who's going to swap off? Who's going to swap off? I'll go to jungle if you go to jungle. I'll send all 3 people to jungle, like they're just all in there. And so
Oh yeah, I see all 3 of those characters frequently, and then it's just who's gonna get jungle and who's gonna go bottom or top.
Yes.
And but they'll still play all 3 of them. They don't care. You're gonna have to be top lane Zeraora, that's fine, but I'm playing them.
100%. That's literally what I was thinking. I was like, it's not a matter of, I see that we have multiple people going jungle and whatever, I'll swap off it for the good of the team. It's no, I'm going to still play this Greninja. I'm just going to go to the side lane instead.
Yeah, all the time. So I'm saying Lucario is the closest because he's an all-arounder technically, right? So
I believe so, yeah.
yeah, you be happy that you got that non-speedster.
At the end of last episode, we talked about the jungler who says, that's fine, you have our jungle, I'll go have theirs. Did anyone see any of that this week?
If their name is
I-
Crustle, sure. That's the only tank you see is Crustle, and
Yeah.
he's not tanking. You see Crustle, you're like, I wonder where he's going to be. Anywhere but tanking.
That was my next
Other
question.
side of the map, yeah.
That was my next
the
question.
thing is, even when Crustle is with the team, a lot of Crustles are still going Shell Smash Stealth Rock, which doesn't have any tanking capabilities. That's a full damage build. You just happen to be on a tanky character while you're doing it. Okay, let's be honest with ourselves. Most Crustle picks are not actually tanks. But to answer your question, Kyle, I actually did see a little bit of the jungle invade, just per usual, like the extremely occasional game, and I feel like it works. You know, I feel like consistently I'm seeing people go in and snipe those enemy crabs. Not consistently, it's extremely rare, but I feel like it consistently works when I see it, yet I still see barely anybody going for it. So I don't know, maybe I need to try it out and see if there's something I'm missing, but I have seen a little bit of it, and it seemed to work every time I've seen somebody go for it. So I don't know.
Are the Greedents tanking? Or are they off, drifting so hard that they're not really, fulfilling the role?
They're just out causing a wave of devastation wherever they go, tank or not. It's still gonna be just this wild induced chaos anywhere that they go.
You have
I mean,
peels.
I consider it tanking because they're in generally the back line being incredibly disruptive, making the damage dealers unable to exist, making any healers fully unable to exist. Trust me. They engage, like they're there. So I think that counts as tanking. They're not like a front line like Mamoswine, but it's still, I still feel like it's tanking. I had plenty of games with and against a solo tank Greedent that went perfectly fine for that Greedent.
It's more of like a disruption tank, what we would know as just noise to the enemy backline, rather than what it sounds like you're kind of wanting with that Mamoswine or Blastoise, which is traditional peels and CC, and a front line that says, no, I am the wall.
I'm going to start our Heroes of the Storm comparisons very early
this
episode and do it right now. I kind of feel like it's a difference between having Johanna as your tank and Tyrael as your tank. They're both tanks, but they're played and positioned wildly differently, right?
Absolutely. And for those of us who don't play Heroes of the Storm, which I imagine is the majority of the listeners, Johanna is a crusader from the Diablo universe that typically will not just run in on top of the enemy team and just disrupt from within, but plays, with that very sort of stereotypical tank mindset of being a beefy body to help out the team. Whereas Tyrael, on the other hand, absolutely can just run in there and get right up inside the enemy team and do some damage from within, which is what Greedent seems like. And honestly, yeah, those are both perfectly valid archetypes of playing tank. Tank doesn't really mean one thing, Tank can mean you bring a lot of survivability to the table. You bring vision control. You bring engages. You peel your teammates. You just stand on top of the enemy team forever as a nuisance, which is what Greedent seems to find himself in. And even with Venusaur in that one patch where he was just absolutely insane, I would argue that he was one of the tankiest characters in the game back then, especially if you ran him like I did with a Buddy Barrier and a Focus Band on top of that. Since the patch, it's a lot less effective now, but it's certainly a totally valid tank playstyle. So, like Kiyeberries is saying, 100%, I would consider that tanking when they're actually showing up to the fight. Because a lot of Greedents I see, they do have a little penchant for going for those back doors because they know they can get away with it with Covet. So I think they're both viable, honestly. Like, just based on how his kit works, based on his ability to just sort of scamper around freely, completely uninterrupted by the enemy team, and his ability to be such a nuisance inside the enemy team, I think you can be a backdoor legend and also be just the most disruptive tank ever at the same time. He's a little crazy right now, in my opinion.
How does his damage stack up against Blastoise?
I would say it's so dependent on the berries, right? Because the more berries that you stuff inside those cheeks, the more belches you're getting. And the belches are where your damage is really coming through. So I've had games where the enemy Greedent wasn't really on the ball about picking up all their berries. I'm playing a mobile character. I'm running around sniping them all up. And he doesn't get to belch a lot. So his damage actually goes down a lot. I've also had games where I watch my teammates in despair as the Greedent walks up, completely stuffed cheeks, and just goes all over them and blows them up. And I've had even times where I'm getting run down by a completely unstoppable high-speed Greedent who's just deleting me. And I feel like Blastoise doesn't necessarily do that. So to me, he seems like the highest damage tank, unless you count like Stealth Rock Crustle. Because if you stand in Stealth Rock, that's just some of the highest damage stuff. Like that is absurd how much damage Stealth Rock does, because it ramps up in damage as someone stands in it. Yeah, no, like I think Blastoise's ult is still one of the stronger ults in the game. In my opinion, maybe second, third, or fourth, somewhere after Zeraora's ult, which I consider to be the best right now. But Greedent's damage for a tank is kind of unparalleled right now, outside of standing inside Stealth Rock.
I would agree that Greedent's damage is really high, but one thing that Mochrie mentioned and that I just noticed with Greedent that the only thing I appreciate about him is that damage. I had some games, okay? I had some games. But the thing that I do appreciate is that damage, like you were saying, is based off of his berry consumption, which is like a skill check for him. If they're not a very good Greedent player and they're not on the ball picking up those berries, their damage isn't very high, and the character's usefulness falls off really hard. Like you can tell very quickly if you're playing with like a skilled Greedent versus someone who's never played him before. So I think that is good, that higher skill and playing the character well is rewarded so highly. But the top end of that is kind of insane. Yeah.
I didn't realize we were all belch, but that kind of makes sense. I mean, at least that's what it sounded like you were saying, Mochrie.
I haven't seen Seed Spit since day one. Oh. It's all belch. Yeah.
Is there a definite level 5 for that between the covet and the stuffed cheek? Sound like we were talking covet there.
I see covet belch every Greedent game.
Okay.
Without fail.
I agree with that one. Maybe last week when we talked about it, there was a little more variation, but in the last week of play, it's all the same squirrel.
Well, and speaking of this last week of play, it was surprisingly tame, like good, at least in kind of the expert rank where I'm still hanging out. There was definitely a lack of madness in the air. And we see this across every single game that has a rank season or expansions of any kind. We had a quieter news week. There was no new Pokemon that came in. The battle pass is pretty settled. Those who are going to get what they're getting is going to get it. You know, if you just went crazy for the next week, probably not going to land on everything you want. So people were just playing to play. And I found that they were actually playing pretty well. In fact, I saw 3 Dreadnoughts in a single game. And I doubt that's a big deal in other ranks, but it seemed like a big deal to me.
No, I agree. My games were all pretty good. I had to tank because nobody would tank, but they went well. Like my games last night were all fairly delightful. I'm just a turtle now. That's all.
Yeah, I will say typically in the like master games that I'm in, which aren't particularly high for master, I'm just at about 1250 points. 3 Dreadnoughts isn't super uncommon because for the most part, people tend to funnel in on Dreadnought. I feel like since the patch, I've seen people... I've seen a little bit more sort of split decisions on like who's going to go to Rotom, who's going to go to Dreadnought, what are we doing here and there. And I don't know whether to chalk that up to the patch, buffing Rotom and nerfing Dreadnought, or if that's just more of the same usual chaos that like we always get where people don't really know what's up and just kind of are off doing their own thing, never joining team fights, all that goodness. But it is fairly common to see a triple Dreadnought in one game. You know, there are like a lot of times when you have those, what I've noticed is everyone will be racing to DPS the Dreadnought down like right before it despawns at 2 minutes. And so we're over here doing the math and we're like, okay, let's see, it spawns 8 seconds ahead of Zapdos. Yeah, so it's going to spawn at 2:08 and we all got to be there. And if we all DPS Dreadnought right when it spawns, then we have just enough time to squeeze it out before Zapdos and all that. So that is fairly common in high ranks. And it definitely always feels good when you can squeeze out that 3rd Dreadnought and know you're just coming into the last team fight. Hopefully with some shields, but team-wide XP for getting all those boosted abilities. Because like I've played characters where we're like at Zapdos and I hit level 13 or 14 and I'm just now getting my final boosted ability. And I'm like, wow, dude. Like I almost went the whole game without that. So those last Dreadnoughts do matter a lot, and you do see a bit of emphasis on them as you go up in ranks a bit.
Been pinging more, which is helping. There were some reactions in the chat about my expertness. I am hard stuck, but I also play a lot of Blissey, so it's still my fault, I believe.
Blame the character. I'm gonna blame the character.
I'm taking multiple sources of blame, and then they're all on me.
I'll blame the character with it. You couldn't pay me to spend a night playing Blissey, so that's not true. Actually, you could pay me. I'm definitely for sale, but you would have to pay me.
I enjoy, it's the turnaround. It's that anime moment, so goofy, just a big old egg with a little waggly tail. But there's something about that CC pile flying at you and you hit that safeguard and you're in a slap battle with a Clefairy and they can't do a thing about it, It's pretty.
Okay.
It's an experience plus the Gengar thing. I'm aware. I'm also kind of thinking like next season, what I'm gonna do there. I do have a question about healing though, since I've got two meta-minded healers on the show. Do I go top? Because the more I play, the more I notice people are yelling at me to leave bottom. Like they don't want me bottom when I start out.
I always run my healer bottom.
That's why I always see you on your stream, so I figured that's where I hang out.
Yeah. I've never had anybody tell me to go away either.
Yeah, so I will say in my experience, and this is without really watching much competitive or, the high rank players to particularly see what they're doing there. I haven't been specifically looking out for this, but my logic in where I choose to position, I have been running my healer top lane a lot, specifically because I just like playing top lane. That way I know I can guarantee that one of the top laners will rotate down to Dreadnought when it spawns. All right, I guarantee that we have that. Whereas if I go bottom and I leave the randos up top lane, they're not coming down when 7 minutes comes around and Dreadnought's about to come up. And so
that's a fair assessment.
Yeah, that's my first reason why I tend to personally take my healers top. And my second reason is because, to my understanding, I believe there is less XP in the top lane. I believe there's less total XP in the top lane, if memory serves. And so it seems fitting to have a character with XP share, which I'm still rolling with on my Eldegoss, up in the top lane.
So we have similar logic, but came to a different conclusion because I also run XP share. But since there's more XP in the bottom, I'm going to use that XP share to mega boost whoever my bottom carry is to get them to an even higher level before the first Dreadnought.
Seems valid to me.
I also want to jump in here before we get emails. Wigglytuff. I said Clefairy. I apologize. Clefairy's not in this game.
No!
I know.
How dare you? These pink blobs.
I got my ears confused. Speaking of ears, that's a bit of a scandal. We'll talk about that in a bit. But pinging has been like really, really helpful, and I'm finding myself gravitating towards the phone more often because I really like. Yeah, like being on phone, being on mobile. Because
the pinging on the phone is certainly much nicer if you're a ping enthusiast. Oh my goodness!
I don't know how do you guys logically place your thumbs when new abilities pop up or pinging? Because that's my movement stick. And I can't move at the same time I confirm that I would like an upgraded ability.
I mean, it's about not multitasking, right? Like, that's actually one thing that I learned a lot from Dota a long time ago when I was playing a character called Meepo, who is, you play 5 different clones of the same character that each have their own, like, body that you have to manipulate and all that. And I was talking to someone about how to play Meepo better, and he was like, don't try to control all the clones at the same time. That'll just mess you up and you'll get confused and you'll be like, why can't I do this? Instead, just control one clone at a time and just move between them quickly, And I think that's how human multitasking just sort of works in general. Like, yes, you can multitask to an extent at greatly reduced efficiency, but no, like, A lot of times, if I want to ping something or if I want to skill up an ability, I'm going to very quickly sort of jump to that for a second, try to get that done as fast as possible, then go back to what I was doing rather than trying to simultaneously do, like this and that input here and there, all that. And I do think pinging is very important for sure. For me, one thing I've really found to be a big favorite is before Dreadnought spawns, you hit them with I'm headed to the bottom path. And then you arrive at the Dreadnought and you hit gather here, which is the yellow flag in the pings. And that combination, that's crystal clear communication that you want to go to Dreadnought. Bringing up the average of the number of players that arrive to Dreadnought, just off my own rough calculations, from about 2 to 3. All right. So
that's math.
Hard out here. It's hard out here going to Dreadnought.
Yeah, it's rough. I played against a player whose name was like rotate to Dreadnought or something.
I've seen that player too, or at least someone with a similar name.
Yeah, I think there's a couple, and it's always just so funny to me. Like, this person knows what they want. This person made a new account, or I don't know if you can pay for a name change or how exactly that works, but this person has a plan in mind, and there may not be any text chat, so their name will be the text chat instead.
You also have
quests. I absolutely respect it.
You have quests to ping like gather here too, so you might as well do it.
Yes, that's what's so funny to me, okay, is that we have a quest every day. Everyone has a quest to ping gather here. And what that has kind of done in my mind is whenever someone hits a gather here ping, I'm like, they don't really mean to gather here. They're just doing their daily. I should ignore that ping. A little part of my brain says that. I think it's so funny how in this daily quest that they've done, which surely is to encourage pinging and to make sure that players know how to ping and that they're using the system, which I think is a very good thing. It's funny that at the same time that it's doing such a good thing of encouraging players to learn about and use the system, it's also kind of lowering trust in the same system in the same way, because I'm just like, he doesn't really mean that ping, he's just pinging just to get the quest done. So it's a little funny to me.
I am shocked we haven't seen an inflammatory Reddit post about this. Because in other MOBAs, anytime they added like a deal certain amount of damage, everyone's like, no one's going to play the real game anymore. I guess it's only one ping. I guess it's not that big of a deal.
I always use the I need help or I need backup, whatever that ping is. It's the only ping I use. I've got great muscle memory for it because it's the only one that I use. But that completes that quest too. So maybe maybe I've dodged the system. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
I always get that quest every day completed, but that is the only ping that I use.
Interesting.
Well, pinging is, if you haven't played enough mobile, it is insanely easy to do. It is.
Yeah, because they're just buttons on the screen. Like, you don't have to do any sort of input combo or anything. You just
input combo. Why when someone says I want to go bottom and I want to be like, cool, I have to be like left stick, left trigger plus?
That's why I say I only use the one, because I've got it down. I've got the path down. Nothing.
That's one of my favorite things they ever added to the game, is that after someone does something good, like, we took a Dreadnought, or like we got a triple takedown or whatever. I always got to remember, no one gets killed in Pokemon. It's takedowns. But anyway, we got like a triple knockout, and then you get the ability to press left bumper plus to give an entirely pointless thumbs up on the screen.
But why? What's the trigger
Whenever
doing otherwise?
Whenever I see a thumbs up, I know that's a mobile player, because there's no way a controller player did that.
I do it every time on Switch because I think it's hilarious.
Not me. Too many buttons.
I wouldn't do it if I was playing handheld on Switch, because I do not like playing this game as much on the like Joy-Con controls as much as a Pro controller. I think it's way better. But I do it every time. It's just hilarious to me that they bothered to put in the time and effort to just make this, whoa, good job. And that's all it does. Just this little thumbs up that pops on your screen, and that's it.
It's really nice and wholesome. Yeah. I love seeing them, but it will never come from me. That's just too much finger manipulation. Sorry.
It's not a missile. It's not a missile where you have to put in the keys and like turn at the same time and flip up the switch on your, on your jet. Like, why? Just make it the trigger. If I accidentally like give too many thumbs up, like, so be it. I don't need these additional protections.
Kyle
putting-
what's up?
I was just saying, we're putting in the nuclear codes to give
Right,
a thumbs up.
yeah.
Here we go.
That's what I'm saying. Kyle Ferguson has to go out and pull out his key card and insert it into the correct spot, punch in the keypad, turn the keys, lift up the clear cover covering the big red button, and press it and hold it for 5 straight seconds. Alarms are blaring, and then I'm going to the bottom path. It's just the results of doing all these inputs.
Make me work that hard to say something toxic, maybe. Like, you really have to commit, really hold down those keys, enter the code. You'd be like, I'm going to do it, everybody. It's like, all right, you have 3 toxic points to spend this week. You can say this. Go for it. And then be like, thumbs down or I'm disappointed.
Yeah, could it just be the bumper for thumbs up and the bumper plus for thumbs down? Make thumbs down the harder version?
See, when you were talking about toxic points, what I thought was like, congratulations for scoring the most points on your team. You have earned 1 message in team chat.
Oh, God.
Get out of jail free card.
Yeah. It's just like, oh, GG noobs, I carry you. And it's like, there you go. There's your message. Go and carry another game to get another one.
Final Fantasy has this term called WoW polite. And it basically means you're being rude. Because WoW players are coming over to Final Fantasy. What we need is like the League polite.
Oh, no.
for when you can't talk, you can't use voice, or at least I've never seen anybody use it. Maybe I'm just not in it in Pokemon Unite. But you still try to be a little toxic, and you do all you can against that system, even though it doesn't really let you. I'll put in that code early on to say, let's give it our all. That's my big cheat code, my big entry at the start.
My favorite is that there's I believe an OK message in the draft. So I'll get in the game, I'll load into the draft, and I'm like, all right, time to play some Cinderace. And I'm hovering the jungle, and everyone else is still figuring out their characters. And then, of course, the customary Greninja, Talonflame, Zeraora, jungle. I'm going to the middle path. I'm going to the middle path. I'm going to the middle path. And then in that situation, there's nothing else you can do other than just hit him with the okay. in the quick chat in the draft, really just expressing your instant disillusionment with the state of the game. So it's invaluable, to say the least.
My favorite is toxic use of keep the pressure on. Like, like if your whole team has wiped and you ping keep the pressure on, or specifically if you have like 4 people go bottom for Dreadnought and 1 person stays top at Rotom and you guys wipe and then he still loses the Rotom. This is very specific because it actually happened to me. So we had 4 people go for Dreadnought. We died to like a 4v5. Then they rotated up, killed the one dude at Rotom because he was still there. Don't ask me how, but he was, and stole Rotom. And then one of us dead people gives him the keep the pressure on up at Rotom. Like, it was the most toxic keep the pressure on I've ever seen. Because you could just, like, the sarcasm was so thick you could cut it with a butter knife. Like,
that's MOBA polite right there. That's perfect. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Keep the pressure on, buddy. You got this. Like, it was bad. It was really bad.
Well, I'm gonna have to keep the pressure on for my segue. Pumpkin matches.
Beautifully executed
you
segue
are
right
welcome,
there.
Everybody, for that, because
that was 100% organic. Let's go.
Free-range organic.
I will get a free Greedent out of this, and I want him, but I'm gonna have to play 10 pumpkin matches with a friend.
May God have mercy on your soul. When I said last week I will never play a pumpkin game again, I have held to that, and I have not played a pumpkin game since.
It's pretty bad. I was gonna say it's not that bad, and then I cut my own self off. I was like, nah, it's pretty bad. I'm not a big fan of it.
And I bought Greedent, so like there's no Halloween reward that could get me to do that. I got what I got. I think I got the pose and maybe the portrait, like the thing that goes around your portrait. Maybe that's what I got. I don't even remember. I don't care.
I saw you got a hat. You have a witch hat.
I bought the hat with gems. I had some gems. It's like 70 gems, whatever.
Yeah, I might actually just put together a group in the Discord and do this. So if anyone wants to join me, let's just do it. My thought was I was gonna draft Kristen, my wife, to join me, and I just don't want like to muddy her experience of the game.
Oh God, yeah, she hasn't played the game. Don't do that
No,
to
she
her.
has.
She'll hate it.
She has.
Okay.
She has. She's played quite a bit. She really enjoys it. But as someone who is, getting into the game, I don't want to be like, hey, it sounds really fun. Like as a parent, we got 2 hours a night that might be ours. What do you want to do? Like, let's do 10 games of pumpkin match back to back to back. So I will be announcing in the Discord, Aeos Clubhouse Discord, sometime soon, a stream with some sort of sign up, something or other. And there will be 10 games played. And if other people need to do this, I welcome you to join me.
Yeah, get in here, friends. It'll be a good time.
We have some nice viewers. They'll do that for you. I know they will.
We'll make it a party. It'll be
I won't, but they will.
Yeah, no, no requirements to any host here. But if you want to do it, like there'll be spots available. But if there's other spots, other people make group, and we'll share the misery. There will be camaraderie in our event, like standing in line for a ride. That ends up not being that great, but you had a good time in line. Like,
what kind of experiences at theme parks do you have, Kyle?
There are some disappointing rides out there. There was that like tiger log flume thing at Animal Kingdom. That really sticks in my mind as a painful memory.
I've got you for one. I've got you. Six Flags up here in Chicago. Okay. The Batman the movie, the ride. The line getting to the ride is actually pretty cool. Like you go into like a Gotham like sewer, and there's all kinds of like it's like there's a knocked over police car, and there's water spraying, and there's videos of like the Joker and stuff. It's themed very well as you get to the ride. But then when you actually ride Batman the movie, the ride, it is, in my opinion, the worst roller coaster at Six Flags. It is vomit inducing. It's just really jerky and like throws you around in a way that is not fun like a roller coaster. It's like uncomfortable and painful and makes you want to hurl.
Oh,
so
yeah.
The experience in line is more enjoyable than the actual ride itself. Sorry, Batman, it's not good.
No, this was what's the date on this guy? Because this was 1992. 2002 was moved over and whatnot. Just a quick look at Wikipedia there. But this is that era where it kind of had a metal. It was all metal, but it was rickety enough. And you have that strap down bar with the big rubber, and your head would do the like power bang between it once it started going. Oh, yeah, those are awful. Rock and Roller Coaster. That's a good roller coaster.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. I am not about roller coasters. They are spooky, and I am a large lad. I am good. I'm not here for it, man. I've seen people slipping out of their constraints and everything. I get nervous. What's up?
Wait, did I? No. Well, I think I dressed up for Phantom Menace, but I was still like young enough that it was, it was neat and cool. But Avatar: Last Airbender, I was a grown man, and that was disappointing. But that's what that's what I'm saying. You get hyped, you get in line, and I just don't want to accidentally subject anyone to that.
We took this in a very fun direction.
This is a Pokemon Unite podcast, by the way, in case you forgot.
Well, there we go, and that's why we're gonna go into news now.
There was a segue.
Another beautiful segue. Bam! Coming right to it. This is basically the time limits are approaching, which means that you need to get your stuff done if you so decide to. The Battle Pass will end on November 7th, which is going to be a Sunday at 5:00 p.m. Pacific time. And then the Halloween Festival will end at the exact same time, though technically tweeted as 1 minute later, which is kind of interesting. But either way, Sunday is your time to move on. And that also means we'll enter our first official second season?
The ranked play?
Yeah, this first one, it was divided in half, oddly enough, but we also got the mobile players on. And this will be the first season with everybody having their first full season.
Was this considered preseason or was this considered season 1? How did they actually label it?
That's a good question.
I believe that I've read season 1 somewhere, but I really have no idea. That's just a hunch off the top of my head. I can say that I'm looking forward to those 20,000 tickets, dude. That's what's been on my mind.
What are you going to do with them?
Well, I already have basically every item I care about to 20, and I have just like 2 or 3 items left in the whole list of held items that aren't 20. So I'm going to get all those to 20. I'm going to save enough tickets to get a new item to 20. So, and then with whatever left over, then I'm going to start pushing the items that I am using frequently up past 20 and start working about getting to 30. Just getting those stat boosts up, because I don't want to be caught off guard and have them be like, hey, here's a new item, level it up, and me be like, oh no, I want to have enough tickets to get that up. So everything to 20, enough stockpiled for one new one, get some stuff up to 30 if I can. What about you?
I actually don't have a plan at all. I don't know.
Oh, you haven't even. Okay, there you go. Copy mine. Feel free.
Yeah, you have a good plan. That's a good script you got there. I'm jealous. I'm like, I don't know what to do with them. I do have my most used items already at 30. I use those take it to 30 years, those things that they gave us.
The super item enhancer.
The super item enhancer. There you go. Yeah, I used a couple of those. And I don't know what to do, because I probably have a more limited character pool than you. So the items I use majorly, I already took to 30. So now I don't know what to do. Maybe just save them, like you said, if there'll be a new item.
It's so weird to me. Like, when I came into the game, I was like, oh, tickets are the most important thing. I gotta make sure that I don't use any tickets to buy held items, because I need them for my item enhancers, because those are stats and those are huge bonuses. And then now, like 2 months later, I'm like, bro, give me some gold, please. Can I turn tickets into gold? Like, I don't need these, please. I want to buy characters. Can I buy characters with tickets or something? It's just so funny how it shifts over time, and I went from, I gotta hoard all of them, to like, I can buy some item enhancers, I guess. I don't know, some of these cosmetics look kind of cool. It's the shift has definitely been real for me.
Well, those numbers haven't changed either. It's not like they went through and said, hey, we're aware our economy has changed and people want different rewards. The season rewards, which were announced back in basically our Switch beta, have been the exact numbers that everyone has seen over the course of this, along with our sweet leathery multi-belted red outfit going down there.
I forgot that was a reward. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I mean, back when this was originally showcased, we were like, that is perhaps the best outfit in the game. Now there are many, many outfits since then. But I agree with you. My items are still unmaximized. I have my Buddy Barrier, of course, that I used my ultimate item enhancer on, but the season roll is going to be the time where I will say, okay, let's get those other 2 past that 10 that they've been chilling at, past that 15. Let's just go ahead and let it rip and use all those tickets that I've accrued, as well as maybe even the super item enhancers. I'm just curious to see if they're going to change the economy, and that'd be great if we receive more gold, because the Pokemon are building up. It's hard to get them. There's quite a few I just want to play for fun. I think Sylveon would be a lot of fun. I think Mamoswine would just be enjoyable, but I'm saving that up for my next big meta pick.
Yeah, they throw a new character at us every 5 minutes, and they cost like 10,000 gold, and they only give us tickets. All of the events are just tickets on tickets on tickets. So I feel you, man. What's up, guys?
Compare this to those earlier episodes where we're like, we need the tickets. That's funny. No, I actually, you're saying you might not like Mamoswine and Sylveon. I like both of those characters, but they're both shelved right now while we're in Greedent mania, because they both feel terrible in the Greedent.
Oh, that's right, because they're so dependent on their various CCs and
such. Various CCs, and at least for me, for Sylveon, I really liked the Calm Mind Hyper Voice, but try to keep Greedent in your Hyper Voice cone. Like, good luck with that. He can't be locked down, so you can't hit him when he's locked down, and he's just figure skates away. So what are you gonna do?
Taraz in the chat asked a great question that we don't know the answer to. Are there going to be any new season rewards? Is there going to be a ranked reset, soft, hard? That is a great question, and there is a number of options for them to pursue. I kind of hope that a game of this nature goes the more Hearthstone-y route, where they really just kind of put everyone back down and say, enjoy your journey again. Go for it. You know, and stagger them based on, you know, like like great can become the new veteran and so on. Like there'll be ranks, but everybody has somewhere to climb.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that in this game, relative to a lot of other similarly ranked online competitive games, the climb doesn't take super long. I know that my initial climb from the very starter rank up to master took me about 25 hours of gameplay time, which, you know, on its face is a lot, but I feel like when you're talking about MOBAs and you're talking about online PvP games, is a lot less than some of the other games we can play. Like, I recently climbed through the ladder in Heroes of the Storm on a European account, and that took me well past 25 hours. I think that took me more than 100 hours of gameplay, and I didn't even go from the minimum rank to the top rank. I went over a significantly smaller range in that game. So I feel like if there was a game of this kind of nature, of this kind of genre, where I think it would be okay for us to reset, it might be this kind of game, like specifically Unite, where it's not that relatively long of a climb to get to the rank that you belong at in comparison to some other games. So I think that would be okay with me.
I don't really have a preference. Is that bad to say?
No.
That I'm not really pressed either way. However,
you don't need strong opinions on everything all the time.
okay, that's good, because I do not have one. I'll be cool with whatever. If they want to start us from the bottom and we reclimb, if they want to like provide you like a minimum rank and then you have to go from there. Like if you were master, they put you now in expert and you have to go from expert. I don't know. Whatever, man. I'm down for the journey. I think it's because maybe this rank system feels a little more relaxed. Maybe that's it. That I'm just like, you know, whatever you guys feel is best.
I think there's a lot of people that share that opinion. There's also a lot of things to gather, a lot of quests to do, which satisfy people's needs for rewards. I mean, that's just a big question going on in general, you know, not only mobile gaming, but gaming overall, is what is the right reward amount. And you also have an audience that just says, I just want good games. Like, I don't need to dress up. I never need any sort of money or faction points. Just make something challenging that I will play over and over again. We also have a balance thing that could happen. And I think, as Mochrie mentioned earlier, you know, Greedent's definitely sitting there, perhaps jonesing for a belch nerfing.
Jonesing for a belch nerfing. Was that English?
It made sense.
I perfectly understand it. It just sounds so funny to me. So whimsical.
He's a whimsical lad out there, skating on those berries with all his might.
It's not a care in the world, just prancing about. Yeah, I would be perfectly okay with Greedent nerfs, honestly. I will say I do kind of like that. I feel that tank, it felt like if you were going to see tanks for the longest time, it was just a bunch of Blastoise in my experience. And I do like that we're seeing a different tank, even if that different tank is kind of nutty. No pun intended.
Oh God, I didn't know. It wasn't, and then.
So, I mean, like, I don't want to see Greedent get absolutely dumpstered, you know what I mean? I don't want them to bury him for the winter or anything. But
you need to be stopped. You are a menace. You are a menace, sir.
I think that was decently highbrow. That was a hibernation joke. You don't get a lot of those.
And you get the word bury when referencing Greedent. Just
yeah.
I got them all day long, baby. But anyway, I do appreciate shaking up the tank meta a little bit, and I do hope we see him tune down a little bit, but I hope that he's around to stay in a slightly more reasonable form, a slightly less tilting form to play against. And I'm just thinking about, someone mentioned this to me last night, you know, at the end of the season and just events coming up, things that they can add to the game. I'm wondering, do you guys think we're going to see a tie-in with the Gen 4 Diamond and Pearl remakes? Do you think we're going to see something there? Yeah.
I didn't even like consider that, but that would be very cool. Or we could see something with, we have a Legends of Arceus not too far out also.
We have been trained by a certain MOBA to never expect such things, to ever have tie-ins.
Well, it depends on the game, right?
Right.
Some games like Heroes of the Storm and Blizzard will tell you that they try not to do tie-ins like that because it puts their dev time on like a schedule that they can't always keep to, and they don't like making those kinds of commitments. What if the character's not done in time? What if the skin's not polished in time? You know, so they don't like to do that. But there are certainly other companies that do that. In the mobile game realm, there is the Marvel Strike Force and then also Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, and both of those tend to do hero or character releases that coincide with whatever Star Wars or Marvel movie or thing is happening at that time. Like that, it's not a thing that nobody does.
Yeah, you've got you've got the Dota cartoon that put out one of the characters, I believe, from the previous season of the show. You got that whole madness, the League Arcane, is it called? Like their whole lineup of products that they're doing at Riot.
Yeah, they're doing a cartoon as well, right?
And then you got whatever Fortnite decides to throw money at, and you're just like, what, really? Y'all
yeah,
have
Fortnite
John
times are pretty big.
What?
Oh yeah. No, they had a Drake concert. They had a playable Thanos. They had a Travis Scott concert was what it was. But just talking about Marvel, like I remember I was a big fan of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for a few of its seasons. It had a nice little golden area in the middle there. And the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. also tied in the Winter Soldier when that was a thing, just talking about Marvel. And I think if you're talking about any company that has tie-ins across multiple genres and has, you know, even if that restricts the devs, they are sticking to consistent schedules where they are syncing this up at the same time. That is the Pokemon company, right? Like you have an anime that comes out, you have merch that comes with the anime, you have games that sync up with the anime across many different genres all at the same time. I think if there's any company where it's almost the norm for us to expect tie-ins across the different implementations of the genre, you got to be talking about, you know, literally the biggest franchise of all time in Pokemon. I think that's completely fair to think that there might be something happening there. Also,
that's true, because they do usually do that, right? They'll do like a card game set release plus anime release plus mainline game release, because like when Sword and Shield came out, there was the Sword and Shield anime, there's a bunch of plushies, there's a bunch of cards. So I mean, yeah, you have a
I remember that was a big thing. I remember everybody getting very upset about the Pokedex not having all the characters in some of the more recent mainline Pokemon games. And I remember some of the conversations coming up around that time about how these devs are very pressed for time when they have very hard limits on when they can get this stuff out. You can't push back the game and then as a result push back the anime and the merch and the other games and all this and that. So it's very hard line, and that can lead to some things being cut. I looked it up, and Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, the Gen 4 remakes, which I need to get some of those because I grew up on those games. The remakes for those games are coming out on November 19th. And it is November 3rd right now, so just a hair over 2 weeks into the future. I would be very surprised. I'm not very surprised. I would be decently surprised if we didn't see some kind of tie-in, even just like an event in game. Because even Pokemon Go, when I was playing Pokemon Go, and I remember Detective Pikachu came out, I was getting events in Go related to the movie. So I think there's going to be something there. That's my theory. I think we're going to see something on the 19th or just around there in Unite.
That'd be the right time frame too, since when Greedent came out, like that wouldn't even be like a stretch for them.
Mm-hmm. Give me Torterra, cowards.
I'd say
my favorite Pokemon.
Torterra?
Oh yeah. He's got a whole landscape on his
That's
back.
just advanced Bulbasaur. You talk about how you like Bulbasaur, and then Torterra is just like larger Bulbasaur.
Well, wait, hang on. What about larger Venus? He's a Venusaur man, so maybe. I
mean, I know one's more like a frog and one's more like a turtle, but grass starter, big stuff on his back. Like, come on.
One has a single plant part on its back in a bulb, and the other one has multiple different biomes and landscapes on its back. Are you telling me, Kiyeberries, that if you walk outside and you look at a flower on the grass and you point at that and you see no difference between that and a mountain? Because that's basically what you're telling me right here. You're like, it's all nature
like
anyway.
One's small nature, one's large nature, but the nature on the back, 4 legs. I don't know, I see the symbol. You have a type, is what I'm saying. You have a type.
I guess to me the differences between them are vast, but like I said before, I guess some of us lack the sophistication to see those kinds of things. So they're all fair. For like fair. Nature creatures, I guess.
But it was on topic and not roller coasters, so we'll take it. Before we move on, we're gonna do this. We want to thank everybody over at patreon.com/Aeos Clubhouse who has joined us to support this fine show. Thank you to everyone who signed up already, but also big exciting announcement, big exciting news for the show. We got our first producer, our first legendary rank sign up, Serenity. Serenity, thank you for your support of the show, an unparalleled level. Awesome. Thank you so much. Sign up.
Also, thank you for those really kind words that Serenity sent to us. That touched my heart.
Yes, absolutely. It's a pleasure to have you here as part of our community. I'm glad we have such an awesome community for so many people to enjoy. Thank you for supporting the show over at patreon.com/Aeos Clubhouse. And now this. Fall time is here in the form of scarves, beanies, sleepy wear, and more giant bows for Eldegoss.
So you can't.
It's just collecting all the skins.
Collecting all the hats. That's it. Eldegoss skins are just what can we stick in that puffball? I don't know, man. Just put it on there.
What do you mean? A hat is a full body skin for Eldegoss. It's just a head.
I really wish the space style Eldegoss skin, where it's the purple star headband. Eldegoss has that little yellow, I don't know what to call it, scarf, shawl thing. I'm sure it's made of leaves, but there's this little yellow shawl that Eldegoss is wearing. I wish they had just made that purple with that skin. I feel like that would have upped the skin by 7 million%, rather than just being we stuck the stars on his head. Go get him, champ.
We gave you a headband. Give us money.
Now, I would push that a headband, even if graphically lower and less intense, is still cooler than a poncho.
Who has a poncho?
Sylveon. Like a straight up, you opened it up out of the plastic bag in an emergency from Walgreens poncho.
Yeah, it's a yellow. It's not great.
That is amazing. I'm looking this up right now.
There's a bit more.
It's not great, but it's a thing.
Because you say poncho, and I think of that costume that we've had since the game came out, where you get the Cramorant poncho. Talk about the Cramorant raincoat, I guess is more accurate. Which is also one of the best skins in the game, in my opinion, for your actual character, and probably what I'm going to spend some tickets on when I get those 20,000. If I've got any left over.
We also got Sleepy Wigglytuff, as well as
so cute though.
Yeah, it is cute. but the big throwdown of the week was that these Wigglytuff skins don't have interactive ear physics anymore. That adding a hat and displacing the ears in such a way that the hat does got rid of their bounce as you move about the map. Also,
oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I saw a Reddit thread. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. The wiggle physics of the ears as you move are just taken away in this skin.
And
it's how does that happen?
I'm not sure. I think that's actually just the beanie one though. There's the bedtime style Wigglytuff, and those ears are definitely bouncing. But yeah, there's a little wiggle. It's not as pronounced. It's not as pronounced, but looks like in the store here anyway, bonfire style Wigglytuff does have some ear bounce, so maybe it's actually a bug or something along those lines.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if it was a bug. I saw a little hullabaloo on the Pokemon Unite subreddit as one of the skins didn't have the same ear wiggle physics as the rest. And then I'm hoping that got changed, because that's kind of annoying, you know, if your animations get less sort of flourish to them as you pay money. That's a little backwards, but I imagine that wouldn't be very long-lived.
I also just think it's delightful. I think Charizard makes a fine hipster. This is beautiful with the scarf and the beanie, and that nice texture on the beanie wool too. Like he just looks cozy, and I like it.
Yeah, I think that I said it right at the start of the game, like when we had our early episodes of the podcast, where I was like, I expected us to have more skins in this game. And I think that the rate at which they've been coming out definitely is much more in line with what I expected. You know, like we're seeing them all over the place. And I'm finally, because I finished the Battle Pass again, I got the Spacesuit Gengar, and now that I'm getting those post-Battle Pass boxes, I'm getting those green tickets again that I can exchange for the paid skins. So I'm still sitting on them, right? Because I cannot decide what to spend my tickets on, and I don't want to make the wrong choice because they all look so good. But the skins are definitely where I expected this game to really come through, and they're starting to live up to that now, in my opinion.
Yeah, I like how they just kind of come out seemingly randomly as well. I don't know, that makes, like last night, the Wigglytuff Sleepy skin and the Eldegoss Giant Bow skin, like just last night, for us in NA anyway, maybe it's different in Japan, but for us in NA, it was at like 8:37 at night, they tweeted, and then there they were in the game, and it felt so random. There was no like hype up to it. It was no event. They're just like, hey, have some skins. And I think that's neat that stuff can just appear in the game at any moment. It doesn't need like a big holiday event or any like big lead up. It's just like, hey, here's some new stuff you're playing, to keep it fresh. Here you go. I thought that was very cool.
It's a casualness, a nonchalant that really lends itself to a game that you should be logging into every day. After all,
you never know what you'll find. You never know when you'll find it. The game is very much actively being developed, and you'll have cool stuff just at any moment. It's a nice little feeling.
There was also apology compensation, or notice of apology and compensation sent to players' mailboxes. So if you ever ended up in an AFK glitch, basically where you couldn't move unless you reset the game, they went ahead and sent y'all 650 tickets. Now, not gold for Mochrie, but it's still.
Which is weird. I got 2 apology compensations, and that never happened to me. I don't actually know what I was being compensated for at first. I was so confused because I've never experienced any kind of bug like that. But I got 2 compensation letters with tickets. So thanks, I guess.
Huh. I believe one is for the mobile account that you also may possess, and then for the Switch, because it was happening on both platforms, but primarily mobile was suffering from this. I didn't suffer enough to receive tickets.
I didn't suffer at all. Like I've only played a couple of games on mobile in the first place, and none of them had problems. So I just okay, thank you though. I mean, I'm not complaining. I'm just thank you.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me if it predominantly affected mobile, because after all, mobile, I'm playing on Switch and I'm on Ethernet, right? Like I've got a wired connection that's pretty stable. And even a lot of people that aren't on Ethernet that haven't bothered to either buy the Ethernet adapter or the new AMOLED switch that lets you get the Ethernet. I see Kai pointing at herself.
I play mine on Wi-Fi. I have no fear. I just send it. Whatever happens, happens.
I try to get the best that I can. But if you're on data, I could totally see how, your connection's a little more spotty. You've got this or that sort of thing in your way. And then the compensation for being laggy that would kick in is going to happen to mobile players more often. So that just sort of makes sense.
They didn't have to do a thing, though. Again, like not praising the big conglomeration that is Tencent, but I'm still just impressed by how active they are about this kind of stuff.
For sure, they've been on the ball about things. It's definitely a very fast pace of content. It feels like Whiplash from Heroes of the Storm, where whisperings of new content once every few months are what we cling to. Whereas in this game, it's just like, oh yeah, have some new stuff. Here you go. Yeah, oh sorry, dude. We just had that in the back, just sitting there. Just take it. It's an entirely different feeling.
And even I came from Dota and like the international as well, and that was more like, your season's coming. Stop me. If you go watch some baseball or something right now, it's not the Super Bowl yet. Just calm down, all right? It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
Have some patience.
Let's get to some emails here. I should have prepared for this name. Horalelion? Horalelion.
Oh boy.
Does anyone else have another opinion?
You gave it your best. What's the question?
Leon asks, what are your thoughts on legendary Pokemon being added to Pokemon Unite as playable Pokemon?
Now you go first. I'm going to gather my thoughts. I'm going to collect them. I'm going to gather them.
Okay. I think that if we ever got legendary playable Pokemon in Unite, I think for a second I was going to say, oh, it would have to be like a temporary thing, as in like for, like a minute or something, you can swap in like a legendary or something like that. I actually think as I'm talking about it, that might be more suited for like a Gigantamax or Mega Evolutions or something like that. A temporary superpowered form would be really interesting to play around with, even if it's just in its own little side mode. But I think if we were ever going to play as legendaries, I think that would probably have to be its own mode. I think that would have to be its own thing where there's like a couple legendaries you can choose from, maybe like its own little event. And I want to say, I actually think that I have less desire to play as a legendary than I do to play against a legendary. I almost think it would be really cool to have a PvE mode where me and a few of my friends go up with each other, and we go up and we have to take down the legendary, we have to go against a Lugia, and there's a whole boss fight to it. There's a raid fight aspect to it. That's personally what I might go for, is if that was its own PvE mode that we got to do together, and you have players with like leaderboards for how fast they're able to take down these bosses or all that. That to me would be super interesting. But I do think if we were ever to explore this kind of thing, playing as the legendaries, that would have to be its own mode, or at least very temporary or something like that. And I'm a little skeptical if it'll ever happen, to be honest, but I am open to seeing what they could do with it. What about you, Kai?
I'm of two minds here. The first and simple mind of mine says that I'm okay with the legendaries just being like bosses or events on the map. Like we've already got Zapdos and Regigigas, who are map bosses, and that feels fine and appropriate for legendary Pokemon. However, the other part of my brain that is gonna potentially upset some people is that not all legendary Pokemon are created equally, right? There are some legendaries that don't feel all that legendary that I don't think I would I don't think I would blink if some of these, I'm like looking at a list of legendary Pokemon, and would anybody really feel like Mesprit would be like, oh, that can't be playable.
Under the boss.
Mesprit is too powerful.
Okay.
Like
you had to go for like the weakest individual legendary.
I did intentionally so. Like not all legendaries are super huge, powerful. Like the Lake Trio is just like, you know what? Yeah, that could probably be a playable Pokemon. I'll even throw Latios and Latios in there. Like, you want Latios to be a playable Pokemon? Honestly, fine with it. Like, you want Regice to be a playable Pokemon? Like, all right, sure. Like,
yeah, I could definitely see that. There would be this weird sort of flavor to taking the Reggie trio into Aroma Park, and then the three of you taking down Regigigas.
beating up Dad.
Yeah, father.
We already told you once, old man, and just beat him down. Like, some of them I really wouldn't feel like it would feel that weird for them to be playable. But overall, having them just be map events is also just like a totally fine use of the Pokemon that are too big to be playable, right? Because on the other hand, you can't imagine somebody playing Mewtwo, right? Do you want to take your Jigglypuff and go fight Mewtwo? Like, do you want to do that? No.
I say yes. Through the power of the Aeos magic, because every Pokemon who enters the arena, they said by technology or projectors or something, the stadium allows them to always be their tier 1 form and then evolve again over the course of the match. And you own a Mamoswine, but it always goes back when you start a new match because of this, technology that they have. So you could have a Mewtwo out on the field who is scaled down in order to compete. Now he'd be the master of his own domain, and he'd have no. Actually, that'd be kind of interesting, because every time you do a catch, it just shows a picture of Mewtwo being like, instead of your trainer at all, because he ain't got no trainers. Mm-hmm. But I'd say through the nature of the game, just the chat brings up Super Smash Bros. Mewtwo's getting owned all the time in there.
just beat him up with Isabelle from Animal Crossing.
Yeah,
I think. What if we had Mewtwo, but with the sort of Team Rocket power restrictors? You know what I'm talking about? It's sort of watering down.
Ian, those hurt him. You can't do that.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, when have we ever cared about the well-being of the Pokemon? This is a universe where 10-year-olds are out sending them to fight each other, okay? If hurting the Pokemon is your issue, I feel like you would have come into this roadblock significantly sooner in this universe.
And man, if we're not allowed to evolve our Pikachu into Raichu because only bad guys evolve their Pikachu, you can't put the power restrictor gloves on Mewtwo.
I'm just saying, Kiyeberries, have you ever had a Spoink in your party, or have you ever even fought a Spoink?
If he stops bouncing, he dies.
Yes, Spoink's heartbeat is tied to its bouncing, and if it stops bouncing, it dies. Confirmed in the Pokedex. Okay, so I'm just saying, you have no room to talk about the morality of the situation, you Spoink murderer.
Oh my god! Why would?
Yeah, there's a lot of. I mean, Charmander's tail flame. If it goes out, he straight up dies. We had a whole anime episode about it.
Does he?
Yeah, and then what's up?
Does he evolve? Can he escape this fate eventually? He becomes.
Spoink?
Yeah, he becomes Grumpig. So
then you're okay.
Is Grumpig free of this burden?
Yeah, Grumpig
I believe so.
does not have the same restriction.
Okay.
But not all of them make it to Grumpig.
No.
Meanwhile, you have Drifblim, which literally drags away disobedient children and just kidnaps them. As a ghost balloon. The Pokemon universe is dark, okay? All right, Mewtwo can handle a little pain. If Spoink can go out there and ignore the fear of death, as can Charmander, I feel like Mewtwo with the power limiters is within the realm of reason.
But you're also limiting skins there, so it's not the lore is butting heads with Mewtwo's need for ponchos and hats.
Just put the poncho. Just put it over the power limiter, just like a blanket. Just put it over the top. Just don't look at it. He'll be okay.
I love it.
I honestly thought at this point we would be then this half season happened, but I thought we'd be trading out our legendary bird Pokemon in the center of the map. We'll keep the abilities the exact same. It's still Zapdos. It still does same damage, same AoEs, what have you. But you just make it Moltres for a bit, and that's it's.
I'd love it if they did that. I think that would be very cool if they just switch around, not even just the Pokemon in the middle, but all of them, right? Make Rotom something else random, make Dreadnought something else random, change out the Pokemon in the jungle. Like you said, everything stays the same, but it just changes the aesthetic of the map. I think that would be very cool and fresh, and I would like that.
That would also give them an opportunity to, if someone really wants to be some of those wild Pokemon, that, it would reinvigorate their imagination, because if your favorite's sitting out there in the wild, it feels like you're never going to get them. Not necessarily the case. It could always happen. But it'd be neat to have that season. Like Hearthstone, for instance, makes a semi-big deal. Most people just play Battlegrounds nowadays, but it's still there. They're like, here comes the year of the, I'm not sure, chickens? They do all sorts of weird stuff over there, but they make a very big cycle about it when they change out their sets.
Absolutely. I think that would be a very fun thing. And I would hope to say a pretty easy thing to do in this game, but we're not in charge. We don't know. But I think that would be very cool.
There's something that I'm thinking about that is significantly less easy to do, but this whole conversation has got me thinking about it. We're talking about swapping out the Pokemon. We're talking about the map. And I kind of want a map where we're playing on the back of a giant Torterra. You know, like it's the Torterra is the map itself, and it's kind of shifting around a little bit here and there. You know, maybe some of the landscape could shift. Maybe it could kind of roll its shoulders.
This man
move
will
some of
do
the players
anything to
around.
get Torterra in this game.
Yeah, Torterra, Tyranitar, Typhlosion, the 3 Ts. They're too cool for me, man. I'm telling you. But
You like that scene in Detective Pikachu where they found out they were on the
Yes.
back of a Torterra?
that's exactly what I'm thinking of in Detective Pikachu, the gigantic Torterras. That's the huge inspiration that they could take for this, I think. You know, it's because I'm a WoW player, right? Like I was a kid growing up. I was in high school, I think, and I was raiding Deathwing, fighting him from on top of his back, where Deathwing himself was the map. And I'm always like, that was really cool. I think we should do that again in other games, you know? So if we could, I could see it, you know, we're fighting even a PvE boss where you have to hang on to Rayquaza and fight on his back, or you have a map that's on Torterra's back, or anything else that could be around this. I think there's a lot of good ideas to explore there, personally. It's not as easy as swapping out a single boss in an already existing map for the same or maybe slightly changed mechanics, because I do think that if we had like an Articuno instead of a Zapdos, it'd be cool if it like froze people or whatever. But these are things that I would love to see in the future of the game.
Torterra's not legendary, though. How could you do this to this question?
It's not a legendary. I'm just saying it's cool.
He
It's
just
big.
want Big Turtle. He just want
Big
the
turtle.
Big Turtle.
I'm all
And I
for
said
it.
Rayquaza too, okay? I gave you an example of how legendaries could be playable. I said the modes they could be in. I gave alternatives. I said a legendary that could be a map. And you have the audacity to tell me I didn't answer the question, Kyle.
Honestly, I think it'd be awesome with like just put some waves around it, like when you get to the edge instead of stadium. It's all you're in the ocean, riding on the back. It'd be really cool to go nuts and have like a boo 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 kind of walking thing going on. But I get it. Don't shake everybody's map all the time. Plus, I really appreciate that the Pokemon Company always has buttons that let me reduce shake because, you know, motion sickness.
Yeah, those
Don't like that.
In every game, that's one of the first settings I look for when I try a new game is disable screen shake.
Yeah. There's another part.
Did you ever have the misfortune of playing Arc and leaving the screen shake on and a Brontosaurus walk by you? Woo!
No, I like to play good games for the most part.
Ah, poor Arc. But just imagine putting your computer screen in a blender, and that is what it looked like.
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
There was one last bit to this question. Which one would you want to play as? So let's say we go. Let's say we go with my idea. It's possible. And then through Aeos magic, you can get your legendary Pokemon. Which one would you want to be?
That's a hard. I mean, the first call that jumps into my head is always Rayquaza, right? Like, it's big. It's a big dragon. It's a big air dragon.
I'm just looking at the list. You know, one Pokemon that I've always thought looked super, super cool, Entei. Entei is just dope. Whoa, a guy with the immediate look of disgust.
That's your of the legendary dogs. You go with Entei.
And
I mean,
Entei
all right, I guess Raikou is right there. Raikou is like right there,
yeah,
though.
Raikou can stay over there.
Oh
Okay?
my god!
And Suicune isn't even going to get talked about.
No, I wasn't gonna bring that one in here either. But like Raikou.
Let me see. Is Entei considered legendary? I don't even.
They're the legendary dogs. Yeah, they should be. They're just like the
Okay.
legend. You got legendary birds. You got legendary dogs. You got the lake trio. There's usually 3 representing elements.
Okay, then I would probably want to be Entei Palkia. Palkia is a big one because, you know, that's the nostalgia for me. I grew up heavily on Gen 4. And those are going to be my big 2. I honestly feel, I'm just looking through the list and I'm like, man, I feel like we got a lot of duds in the legendaries as I'm scrolling through there.
I've solidified my answer, though. My first gut response was Rayquaza, but I actually don't know why I didn't say Groudon, since he's a giant red T-Rex monster. But yeah, it's Groudon.
I feel like is Shaman a powerful Pokemon? I'm looking at land form Shaman, and I'm like, this would not stick out in the current roster right now. This would look like a baby form Pokemon.
I don't think Shaman is super powerful, no.
Yeah, give us Shaman. That's a reasonable legendary. Let's go.
I would have to pick. I've always thought it was so cool and so savage, as adorable as they were, just straight up Mew. Like the shield, the impregnable
True.
shield, just crushing things with your mind as you fly around in space infinite, going off to distant worlds. There's an adorable villainy that I've always been drawn to. But as for like aesthetic, and I don't know these ones because they were past the generations I played in. I always like the look of, what is this? Kyogre?
Kyogre.
Kyogre.
Yeah, that's Gen 3.
Groudon's eternal nemesis, the whale.
That thing looks
Groudon.
awesome.
To give you some backstory, Groudon and Kyogre were in a permanent fight of land and water, and Groudon decided to 1v1 Kyogre in the middle of the ocean on just like a patch of rock. It's like, buddy, you are out of your domain here. This was like the big boss fight of Gen 3, was Kyogre and Groudon facing off, final battle of land versus water in the middle of the ocean. Groudon's decision-making skills leave a little bit to be questioned, in my opinion.
But think of how it would work the other way if you lifted up a whale and flopped him onto land. Like, it's really the only option we have for these two to face off. It's a weird rivalry to have. You guys don't really cross paths very often.
Yeah.
Rayquaza watching just like y'all dumb.
Yeah, Rayquaza's like, kids, stop. Basically the whole story. There you go. You don't need to play Gen 3. You're now familiar with basically the extent of the lore.
Damn, spoilers. Wow.
Yeah, no, it's just so funny, like the differences in the storylines throughout the Pokemon universe, when it's like, I want to steal this highly intelligent Pokemon and torture it for my own aims, and I'm going to genetically modify Mew into something I can control, into like, man, I hate land, into like, I'm going to take over the world and run it as a conspiracy. It's just a very weird sort of left turn in the Pokemon lore throughout all of that, and it'll always hold a special place in my heart for that.
Well, before I go too deep into whatever Mega Mewtwo X is and Mega Mewtwo Y, I think we've come to the end of the show.
Mega
Sure, I wanted to
evolutions,
talk about
man.
Six Flags some more.
Oh, yeah? Oh, yeah. Bonus show for the patrons over at patreon.com.
Bonus show. I will tell you about the best ride at Six Flags.
There we
Superman, the ride. Here we go.
There we go. Patreon.com/Aeos Clubhouse is where you can support the show and the creation of more content from hosts like us, these very hosts here. And we want to thank again our first legendary rank and our producer, Serenity, for their unparalleled support of Aeos Clubhouse. Thank you to all the patrons over there. You can find out more about this show over at kyleferguson.com with all the RSS links should you need them. But of course, this podcast can be found wherever podcasts are found. Be sure to subscribe in whatever device you use. It's huge for the algorithms. Help us out with that. Let's shoot it over to Kiyeberries. Where can people find you?
Hello, pals out there. I am Kiyeberries, Kiye Berries. You can find me on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube. I've got 2 YouTubes, one for Pokemon Unite only if you like that. I've also got Here's the Storm. Branding is there, so just search for Kiyeberries and I will be around, and I hope to see you on the internet. Tossing it to Mochrie.
Hello. It is so good to see you, friends, and the dog running around in Kai's background the entire time. I love it. I am Mochrie, MOCHRIETV. Same as usual. You've heard it before. Twitch, Reddit, YouTube, Twitter, all that good stuff. I'm actually not Mochrie TV on Reddit, but Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, all that good stuff. We do Here's the Storm. We do Unite. I'm looking at Final Fantasy. All kinds of good stuff. And I'm also looking into, just talking about the Patreon, looking into doing some stuff for y'all on there as well. Getting to those missed questions. Kyle, what about you?
You can find everything I do at that kyleferguson.com website.
And how many S's, pray tell, are in Ferguson if I wanted to reach that?
There are 2. If you enter 1, you get a plumbing company. If you enter 3, you also get a plumbing company. So use 2 to find Kyle Ferguson, the Kyle Ferguson I am. You can also find me at twitch.tv/Kyle Ferguson, where I will be streaming that pile of pumpkin games, which I will announce and arrange in our Discord. Discord, of course, is Aeos Clubhouse, but another fun way to find it is to go to twitter.com. Aeos Clubhouse, and you'll find a link to the Discord there. That brings us to the end of episode 16 of Aeos Clubhouse. Thank you all for joining us. Have a wonderful week. We'll see you on the season roll. Bye now.
See you later.